Today I want to begin a new series entitled, I Got Proof. I got proof. Character shapes one's identity, ultimately proving who and or what that person is. I'm going to say it again. Character shapes one's identity, ultimately proving who and or what that person is. It is from that realm, that vein, my brothers and sisters, that we serve a God that is so great that without any responsibility to do so, one of the ways that God proves God's self and God's character is through the performing of miracles. Without responsibility, at God's own volition, at his own choice and his own decision making, he chooses to express God's self by proving himself by dispatching and distributing miracles. For those who don't understand the context, miracles are unexplainable acts that can be acquired by humanity, but cannot, will not, and shall not be credited to their conception and or their contribution. I'm going to say it again. Think. Miracles are unexplainable acts that can be acquired by humanity, but they cannot, will not, and shall not be credited to their conception and or their contribution. Simply put, all I'm saying is that miracles are a God thing. It has nothing to do with how good you are. It has nothing to do with how well you dress and how many I's you've dotted and how many T's you've crossed. But it's because the grace, favor, and mercy of God that God chooses to express God's self by way of miracles. And my brothers and sisters, to that end, whether you knew it or not, get this now, you are a walking miracle. I'm going to say that again because somebody didn't buy what I was just selling. I said, whether you knew it or not, let no one tell you otherwise. That you are a walking miracle. The fact that you woke up this morning and your right hand moved, or your left hand moved, your left eye batted, or your right eye batted, your left foot walked, or your right foot walked, and if none of that worked, the fact that you can open up your mouth and breathe air that you did not create, that you did not manifest, and that you do not deserve, it proves to you that you are a walking miracle. Sometimes we forget to thank God about the stuff we take for granted. I'm going to say that again because we're so conditioned to believe that in our own humanness that God owes us something. God don't owe us anything but the fact that God loved us. He said in John 3:16, because I first so loved the world that I gave my only begotten son, that whosoever believeth on him shall not perish but have everlasting life. And so God chose to love you in spite of you. Now let me say this for those who are still quiet. What if God actually gave you what you deserve to have? Oh, I wish I had about 5 people who can take about 10 seconds to thank God that he let some stuff miss you. Yeah, somebody shout out, miss me with that, miss me with this, and miss me with that, because God is so powerful and God is so awesome that God will perform miracles over your life even when you're messy. Even when you don't deserve it, even when you don't thank him, he woke you up this morning and put food on your table and clothes on your back. And when you should have lost your mind, you did not. And let me say that I come against the spirit of anybody who think that the enemy is going to destroy your mind. I don't know why I'm saying that, but I feel it in the atmosphere that there has been an attack on the mind. And the Bible said, love the Lord God with all your heart, soul, and mind. And God, I can't love you if my mind is lost. Look at your neighbor and say, I'm about to get my mind back. Oh, y'all ain't shouting good enough in here. I come against the element of the destruction of the mind. You will think right, act right, and be right because God has made you right. You will think right, act right, and be right because God has made you right. And God is a God of miracles. So God proves God's self by performing miracles. And since we are beneficiaries of said miracles, we too have a responsibility to return in kind something. My brothers and sisters, since God does not have to, but choose to prove God's self by way of miracles, it is our goal and our responsibility to resoundingly and boldly display 3 words: I got proof. The reason why many folks don't want what you have, I'm talking about the God that you claim you have, because you're too busy making our God look bad. Because your resuscitation or what you recite about your life does not line up with the one you claim to serve. Because every time I hear about what you don't have and what's not working in your life and what you want to get better. But people need to hear how good your God is so that they can experience the goodness of God. Y'all miss this up in here. But if we are the church and we are believers and we don't represent the goodness of God as God's marketing strategy and billboard, then how can we expect other folks to love a God that we don't really love ourselves? Because if you love me, you'll say you love me. Don't love me in secret, but act like you don't know me in public. Is there anybody in here who say, I need to come up out the closet of secret worship? Y'all miss this up in here. You are a praiser at your house, but you sit in church like he ain't done nothing for you. You are worshiping in a shower, but you go to work and act like you ain't saved. You say that you're saved in private, but when you get in front of people, you forget. But I need about 5 folk who can say, I'm saved in front of you and behind you. I'm saved on the side of you and next to you, because I woke up this morning with my mind and it was stayed on Jesus. I'm so glad that he saved me, and because he saved me, he can save you. I got proof that there is a God. I got proof. How do you know? Because he's working on the inside of me. Folks can tell me anything, but the one thing you can't tell me, if there is no God. Because if it wasn't no God, I'd be in jail for killing somebody. If it wasn't no God, I'd be in jail for putting my hands on people. But I thank God that right when I was getting ready to smack them, he reached down and told me that they ain't worth it, because I was wounded for your transgressions. Oh, y'all ain't talking good enough in here to me. Somebody just shout, because there is a God. Up above my head, I hear melodies in the air. Up above my head, I see music. There must be a God somewhere, and he ain't somewhere, he living. The old folks used to say, he walks with me, and he talks with me, and he tells me I'm his own. The earth is the Lord, and the fullness thereof, and I that dwell within. I got proof that there's a God. Do me a favor, say, neighbor, I got proof that there is a God. Now say, what's my proof? You looking at my proof. I'm a living witness. The reason why I'm here on the Sunday morning shows there is a God. But not only do I have proof that there is a God, I got proof that I got the victory. And my victory is not predicated upon my circumstance, because I know my circumstance comes as a result of who I am. Because I am powerful and because I serve God, the circumstance will come to pull me away from my power and my God. But I need to tell my circumstance how big my God is, and then I can get victory over the circumstance to suggest that there's nothing too big for God. Look at your neighbor and say, God's got you. But you got to act like you got the victory. And so, Lord, help me on this morning. One thing that speaks to miracles is the element of transformation. Because transformation is a kind of change. It's a kind of repositioning. Some of us, my brothers and sisters, you don't need more of stuff. You just need to be transformed. Because your mind is not conditioned to look at the value in your current state. That's why you're always seeking for happiness in the wrong places, because your mind has not been transformed. Do not be conformed to this world, the thoughts of this world, the things of this world, but be ye transformed. Be ye metamorphosized is that word in Greek. Be ye changed. It's like a caterpillar turning into a butterfly. Don't always stay a caterpillar. It metamorphoses itself into a butterfly so that they can fly. But the problem is too many of y'all are in the caterpillar stage when God wants you to be in the flying stage. Because when you're in the flying stage, you raise above the hate that is coming your way, and you don't respond to any and everything and everybody. Why? Because you've been transformed. And transformation is so tough that it is indeed the miraculous working of God when you experience transformation. You cannot change on your own, but you have to have the desire to ask God to help you change. Because at our best attempt to live holy, we cannot, because in our new natural self, we have a sinful nature. So our nature is to sin. Our nature is to do wrong. Our nature is to do evil. But when we put super on our nature, we get supernatural, because nature is the root word for natural. Super is an element that represents the divine. And so when I put super on my nature, I get supernatural. When I get supernatural, that means I push myself back toward the divine, because the God is supernatural. So God wants to do the stuff not in your nature, but in the supernatural. But I cannot get it if I don't tap into the Spirit. Look at your neighbor and say, whatever he just said, I believe it. I go catch it again on YouTube. But the fact of the matter is, stop acting out your nature and respond to the supernatural. And in our text, we're introduced to a woman who over time was transformed. Get what I said? Over time. Don't feel bad when you don't change at 11:15 after you just got through praying at 11:14. Don't feel bad when what you prayed for on Tuesday don't show up on Wednesday. Because the real sauce is in your faith and not in what you see. Because I walk by faith and not by sight. So just because I don't see it don't mean I don't have it. It is laying in the supernatural. But my nature will tell me to give up on God. But the supernatural will tell me that without faith, It is impossible to please God. God is just looking for somebody to operate in the faith realm so that they can experience the miraculous power of God, because you cannot receive it if you do not believe it. And so this woman comes to Jesus with a sense of unbelief, but over time she was transformed. But I'm not going to get upset at this woman, because this woman was facing a dichotomy of rejection. She was a Samaritan woman, and her own people rejected her. You ain't never been really hurt till you've been hurt by someone who's supposed to love you. I can deal with you when you ain't my friend. I can deal with you when you ain't my family. I can deal with you when you're not my companion. But how can you say that you love me and that you got my back and that you there for me, but all I feel is the hurt that's coming from you? And I'm not talking about miscellaneous or unintentional hurt. I'm talking about stuff that you knew you was going to do that was going to hurt me. I'm not talking about stuff that was not in your cognition. I'm talking about premeditated hurt. I'm talking about some stuff you talk about you getting back with somebody on. But the fact of the matter is, here this lady is a Samaritan woman, and her own people did not like her. They outcast her. They rejected her. And I don't care what you say, as long as you live in this earth, you need the companionship of somebody else. I don't care if you think you don't. I don't care how introverted you are. God created us to be communal. And my brothers and sisters, so you can say, I can talk to you and talk to you. But the fact of the matter is, she needed something. And so since the Jews thought that they had, my brothers and sisters, the autonomy over Jesus, or over the Messiah, they thought they had autonomy over religion. It was said that salvation came through the Jews first. That was their ideology. And so she was rejected by the Samaritans, and the people who possessed what she needed, so she thought, also rejected her, because the Jews wouldn't talk to her, because it was uncustomary for a Jew to be hanging out with Samaritans. It's like Bloods hanging out with Crips. It just don't happen. Well, in the old day, I don't know what they're doing now. My brothers and sisters, the point I'm trying to make is that Jesus, being a Jew, a Palestinian Jew, breaks Palestinian protocol by crossing over into a city in which he was not welcome to reach this woman. Because Jesus will break barriers of society to make sure you're delivered and make sure you're set free. And so I ask you, while you're listening to me, what are the barriers that you need Jesus to break through? And so he breaks through and ignites the process of transformation. And as a result, she gets shifting power. Here's the problem. If you're talking about your faith the same way you did 20 years ago and you were saved 20 years ago, you have not grown in the Lord. You ought to have something on you where you can lay hands on your own self and your own self responds to the power within you. But I cannot do that when I ain't got no power. But I cannot have power if I have not been transformed. We cannot mistake emotions for power. Just because you can shout and just because you can sing does not mean that you have power. That means you have gifting. And the text says that gifting comes without repentance. So I can be a singing devil and still move the church, because his word will not go out and return void. So don't get caught up on the personality, get caught up on the power of God, because God's power will use a dirty Negro to get the word across, just so the word will not be rotten. Look at your neighbor and say, yes, he did just say that. And so that's why I don't want you to shout over me and get excited over me, but you shout at the God that is within me, because at a moment's notice I can snap to the other side and you can see Anthony and not Pastor. And so here this woman has shifting power, and her shifting power literally becomes proof of her victory. Okay. And so if you are going to walk in proving victorious power under the auspice of miracle transformation, there's a few things that you need to do. Somebody say, talk, Pastor. Number one, here we go, Anthony. Your desire must outduel your dilemma. Let that sink in. Your desire must outduel your dilemma. Here this lady, as I already told you, was in a pickle. She was in a dilemma. What was her dilemma? She was facing rejection. She was in a dilemma of rejection, but her desire was so great that it literally became a fight between desire and dilemma. And now you don't know that too, but you too have that same fight. That the dilemmas in your life, my brothers and sisters, are working against your desire. That's why some days you feel motivated to do stuff, and then the next day you just want to lay in the bed. Why? Because desire has a boxing match with your dilemma. Look what the text says in verse 28. The text says in chapter 4 of John, verse 28, then the woman left her water jar or her water pot, and she went back to the what? She said to the people in verse 29, come and see a man who told me everything that I have ever done. Come do what? That told me what? That I have what? So here was the dilemma. The dilemma was that I'm rejected. How can I be rejected by a culture in which Jesus represents, but now I move from rejection to say, come see him? I cannot say come see him if I haven't had transformation in my thinking. Because when I first meet him, in the context of the scripture, I know I'm not supposed to be talking to him. But after a conversation with Jesus, I realized that his business is not ordinary business of society. Because society always have an agenda. I don't care who you are, whoever you work for have an agenda. And they will use you up until you are no good if you don't be careful enough to stand up for yourself and understand that you cannot help people broken, because broken people cannot help broken people. But the potter wants to put you back together again so that you can be a benefit to society. But I cannot be a benefit to society if I keep succumbing to my dilemma. You need to shout that when you are rejected, because when you're rejected, that means you're on the right track. Because there's something about you that the enemy does not like, which forces a spirit of rejection over you. But you're so busy trying to fit in when God said, I need you to fit out. Because you can't fit in with carnality. Why? Because the weapons of our I'm preaching better than you responding. The weapons of our warfare are not carnal. Carnal mean of the devil, things of evil, things of iniquity, things of a poor standard, but they are mighty unto God for the pulling down of stronghold. What is the stronghold? Something that's trying to keep me from elevating. And what is that one thing? Rejection is a stronghold. So do not succumb to the dilemma of rejection. Somebody got to shout out, come see a man who told me everything that I've ever done. Is there anybody in here who knows about this man I'm talking about? And so she leaves. She leaves her water pot that has contextual significance, because her water pot or her water jar represented her old self. In context, her rejected self. So she drops her water pot, which is essentially saying, I'm dropping the dilemma of rejection. But I'm leaving my water pot at the foot of Jesus. I did not leave Jesus the same way I came to Jesus. That's why the songwriter said, I came to Jesus just as I was. Man, I need a praying church up in here. I was weary, wounded, and sad. But that ain't how I left, because I found in him a resting place and he has made me glad. So how can I come to a Jesus who have power, but I leave without power? The reason why I leave with power, because I come to Jesus with my water pot, but I leave with my water pot when Jesus say, leave your water pot at the feet of me. In other words, leave the dilemmas of your life at the feet of Jesus and walk away like I got your back. Work up in here, man. I'm doing the best I can. But she was able to leave her water pot, her dilemma, because the desire to change outdueled the willingness to stay in rejection. Because she understood that her destiny, get this now, it's real good, was not rejection. Can I give you some application? I want to tell you right now that your dilemma will not define your destiny. Whatever it is that you're going through that seems like it want to take you out. I don't care if it's health. I don't care if it's malnourished wealth. I don't care if it's people. I don't care if it's situations. Whatever your dilemma is, it will not define your destiny. Your destiny will be defined by your ability and desire to overcome your dilemma. Y'all miss this up in here. If I stay in my dilemma, then I have no destiny. But if I take authority over my dilemma, then I walk in destiny. All I'm trying to say is I need some destiny walkers to leave their water pot behind them. Don't go back and get it. Let that thing rust and rot and bury and kill and destroy itself. The reason why this woman walked away, perhaps so that she wouldn't have to see that which had her in pain. Why do we keep calling folks who hurt and broke us, thinking that it's going to get better? If you broke me once, you'll break me again. If you break me again, you'll break me again. But I give you authority over my destiny when I act like I can't do no better. But I can do some better because he created me to be better. That's why I got to submit myself to God, because he said, if you trust in the Lord with all your heart, lean not to your own understanding, and all thy ways acknowledge him, he shall direct what? My path. I cannot get direction if I don't fall in his protection. So your desire must outdo your dilemma. But then secondly, your voice, get this now, can lead others to victory. Your what? Can lead what? The first one was about her. That I got to get myself right before I can help somebody else. The problem I have with some of y'all, you broke but you still loaning folk money. How can you loan somebody money when you ain't got enough to pay your bills and you don't tithe? I cannot loan something to you just because you need it. I can only loan it to you if I can afford for you to never pay me back. If I cannot give you money that you can never pay back, then I shouldn't give it to you. Because why? Now I'm going to draw a wedge between you and I, because when something come up when you can't pay me back, now I'm upset at you because I've lent you my bill money. Oh my God. Oh, I just struck a nerve there. Your voice can lead others to victory. Look what it says in verse 30. They left the city and were on their way to him. Many Samaritans from the city believed in who? Him. Because of what? The woman's testimony. Okay. This woman did not have a testimony before she met Jesus. All she had was a water pot. Her water pot represented social rejection because she was at the well all by herself, and it was uncustomary for Samaritan women to travel to the well by themselves. They would always travel in packs, but because the community did not like her, she had to pseudo sneak to the fountain to get water because she was an outcast. So the water pot walking to that well represented that which she did not want to become. But she left her water pot, and now she becomes a person who testifies about the goodness of God, because the text says that other folks believe because of the woman's testimony. In other words, she said, come see a man. That means she opened up her mouth. Boy, I'm preaching better than you responded. She opens up her mouth, my brothers and sisters, and shares her testimony. And then she said, he told me everything that I've done. Now, because she was socially rejected and they understood her human plight, they understood that everything she done had some type of negative connotation. But I like Jesus because Jesus deals with the nasty. See, the problem is you're faking perfection, and God cannot bless fakers. He wants to bless your nasty. In other words, I'm preaching better than you responding. Stop acting like you got it all together when you know you be slipping, tripping, and dipping, and you come to Jesus and say, you know what, Jesus, this is what I like, and this is what I need help with. So the woman said, come see a man, or come see the man. Come see the man, or come see a man. But she had to attribute it, the power of God, to say that he told me everything that I've done. Her voice was so bold that it led others to victory. Because she exposed them to Jesus, they follow her. They end up following somebody that they once rejected. In other words, a person that they had outcast now became their leader. Because you can start from the bottom, but now you're here. Y'all miss this up in here. Is there anybody in here who can say, get a good look at me now, because I ain't where I'm going to be. I may not be in my happy place now. I may be at the bottom now, but those same folk who rejected me are going to have to eat off my table. Because he said, I'll prepare a table before thee in the presence of my enemies. In other words, God has the ability to make you eat when folks don't like you eating. Look at your neighbor and say, I'm about to eat. I'm getting a little hungry, and I'm not talking about natural food. I'm talking about eating everything that you've been praying for. Eating everything that you've been believing God for. Eating everything that you've been on your knees for. Eat everything that you've been fasting for. Eat everything that you've been worshiping for. Eat everything that you desire. Why? I eat because God is good. Is there anybody in here who can say, give me something to eat? She broke her silence. Here's the prophetic word that God told me. He said, today is the day to be cured from the sickness of silence. In other words, I will not hold my voice back. For far too long have people been holding your voice back, and you have been limited to what you say and how you say it, and they've been choking your voice. But God gave you that voice so that you can be a blessing to this world. God gave you that voice so that you can turn mountains upside down. God gave you that voice so that you can be a conduit of healing. God gave you that voice so eyes have not seen and ears have not heard. Look at your neighbor and say, I got my voice back. Come on, open up your mouth and say, I got my voice back. I said, open up your mouth and say, I got my voice back. If you got your voice back, open up your mouth and holler. I said, open up your mouth and holler. I'm not being quiet no more. I'm not just going to sit there and take everything you give to me. I'm opening up my voice and telling you can't do me like that no more. You can't play me like that no more. I'm not a fool no more. God has created me to be bigger than you. And now I got my voice back. Shout voice back. I looked at my hands and they look new. I looked down at my feet and my feet did too. Because when I think about the goodness of Jesus and all that is done for me, I need some blood brought folk up in here. My soul gets happy and I shout out 3 words. I got proof. Look at your neighbor and say, I got proof. Don't mess with me now. I got proof. I got evidence. I got evidence. confidence. I got confidence because I know who I am. God wrote me in his plan because I got the victory. What's my name? My name is Victory. I said, what's my name? I said, my name is Victory. Look at your neighbor and tell your neighbor. I said, neighbor, look at your neighbor and say, I got the victory. The Victory. I said, I got the victory. Victory, victory shall be mine. I said, victory shall be mine because I feel like preaching now. I said, I'll tell Satan, get thee behind, because victory is mine. Do me a favor, if you're not too mean, grab your neighbor, grab him by the hand, and say, neighbor, I don't mean to bother you. Lean on him a little bit and tell him, neighbor, I don't mean to be a bugaboo, but I want to tell you, I want to speak into your life, and I want to tell you that you got proof. Say, neighbor, keep on going, because you got proof. I said, neighbor, keep on pushing, because you got proof. Neighbor, keep on walking, because you got proof. I said, you got proof. Have I got a witness? I got proof that there is a God, because they hung him high, stretched him wide. I said, I got proof that there is a God. What's my proof? That I should have been dead, sleeping in my grave. But the Lord, but the Lord, but the Lord, but the Lord said, no, 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 no. Come up from amongst them and be ye separated. I feel like preaching. I said, I feel like preaching because I woke up this morning with my mind, it was stayed on Jesus. I said, I woke up this morning and said, Lord, I love you. How many people love the Lord? I said, love the Lord. I love the Lord. He heard my cry. He pity every groan. I said, he pity every groan. As long as I live, my trouble rise. I said, my trouble rise. I'll hasten to his throne. Shout like you got the victory. Shout like you got it. Somebody shout out. I said, somebody shout out. I got it. I got it. I got it. I got it. Yeah. 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 He's all right. I know he's all right. I know he's all right. Ain't he all right? Ain't he all right? Won't he do it? Won't he do it? Won't he do it? Won't he do it?